If you have ever heard anything about quantum mechanics, you should have seen this. This is called the double slit experiment, and it shows you how electrons don't like to be seen. They're a little shy. Aww. Well, except they are not! They are monsters who beat each other and don't like when other electrons take the glory! They are savages! Well, let me explain. The experiment begins with a ray of electrons passing through one of two slits, and then going to a surface beyond them where they collide with a wall, and we want to see where on that wall they collided. But when we are sending them, we don't know from which slit they passed through, but we still go and see the outcome, and it's all fucked up and weird. They collide in these weird curves that don't make any sense. Like, why they don't like this section but they like that one? Why is that? Well, this is a strange phenomena called interference. So now, let's go and break it down in terms of Pokemon. Let's say you are playing Pokemon Emerald, and you go on a new route called the Cool Route. You here can only find Torchics, and they can only appear with level 50 or 55, no in-betweens. And you want to find what HP appears more with these Torchics. So you start encountering them. But for some reason your game doesn't show up their level, but you don't pay it any mind because you can still see their HP. So you start encountering them. Your first Torchic has 112 HP. Okay. Your second 120. Fine. Your third 118, your fourth 122, and so on, until you find 750 of them. Finally, you finish your farming, but something is weird. You find 11 Torchics with 104 HP, 21 with 106, 43 with 108, and so on to be as follows on screen. Something is strange. Why aren't any of them with odd HP? We should find Torchic of every HP on a range from minimum HP for level 50 to the maximum HP for level 55, with every one of them in between. But we only find even numbers of HP. Well, turns out the Torchic with odd HP are weird and don't like Torchics of other level. So they get angry and violent. So every time before you get an encounter, they beat each other to be encountered first. You shouldn't go, I was here first. No, I was here first. What are you talking about, you level 55? Shut up, you stupid level 50. So they all faint from the fight between each other, making all the odd HP Torchic fainted and not being able to be encountered anymore. Also, turns out that only the odd HP ones fought, because they were the only violent ones. The Torchic with even HP, on the contrary, are very friendly and let each other be encountered. You should go first. Nah, you should go. Nah, you work so hard, you should be encountered first. So you only meet them. Well, this is a phenomenon called interference. And this is a characteristic natural to waves, because electrons behave like waves. Don't worry about why they do that. Know that some electrons, when meeting other specific electrons, they end up going against each other, making it impossible for both to be encountered. What happens in these sections is what we call destructive interference. Same for the opposite, where specific electrons help each other, making them happen more. And this is what we call constructive interference. So we only see where the electrons are helping each other, where the constructive interference happens. But all this phenomena happens only if we don't look from which slit the electrons are coming from. I'll explain that in a bit. So for now we know that the electrons do this weird interference stuff, but how do we determine where they do that? Well, simply seeing how distant they are from the slit from which they pass through. Because, behaving like waves, they do this motion following what is known as a sinusoidal function. And when here, they go against the electrons from the other slit, making these sections of destructive interference. And when here, they are friendly, helping the electrons from the other slit, making these sections of constructive interference. Going back to the case of the Torchics, if they help each other or not is determined by how much HP they have. And like the electrons, this only happens when we are not looking at their level. So let's go back to our example. Now we go on and repair the game, so we can finally see the level of the Torchic. But the Torchic notice that, and they know that if you notice the Torchic Civil War, you will stop encountering them. So they stop fighting each other. Nothing bad happened here. Don't worry, we are just normal Torchics. No, there was a war! You shut your mouth! So now you notice a more normal distribution of HP. You see a level 50 with 108 HP, a level 55 with 127, a level 50 with 115, and so on. You find what you would expect out of the encounters. So, knowing what level the Torchics were, you got a different outcome. In physics, this same thing happens. If we start seeing from where the electrons are coming, it being slit 1 or 2, they don't do the interference anymore. This is given because to see them, you need to make them interact with a photon, the particle of light. This makes the electrons come down and don't bother other electrons, and go in their path without making any trouble. This is because of something that particles do, where they stop behaving like waves and are forced to choose a state randomly when observed, following what is known as the Gaussian bell curve, or normal distribution. And so the interference is no more and we have a normal sum of two Gaussian distribution. One given from the electron coming from slit 1 and one for the electron coming from slit 2. To note before leaving, I didn't talk about much stuff about the experiment, like the fact that interference happens with every kind of wave, being sound, loud, electromagnetic, you call it. Also, I didn't talk in detail about the force state of particles and their wave function, mostly because I plan on doing a video specifically on that, so subscribe and rest tuned to see that. Also, maybe comment and like the video. I don't know, I'm not good with this stuff.